I don't know about you, but the one thing that will absolutely guarantee me not watching a film or a box set is when someone says I should. I don't know what it is in this day and age with like these like big box set series and stuff. This disbelief people have when you haven't watched Breaking the Wire or whatever it's called, and then you look at it and you go, there's 75 episodes and each episode is 3 hours long. I don't have time. And there's this kind of exasperation that somehow you're a lesser person because you haven't got that kind of cultural connection. So the team in the annex, the Crow Hill team, were very surprised to hear that I hadn't even heard of a series called The White Lotus. So what they've said to me would be interesting to do would be for me to react to the theme tune, which apparently is a meme, and I probably have heard it, but haven't made the connection with this TV series I've never heard of, which I hear is very good, and to react to it and to see if I could go about remaking it as if it was temped on something else. So what happens when you get these iconic pieces of music is often us media composers, people who write for film, TV, computer games, we get what we call temp love, which is where they will put something that's awesome that people already know on something, and then we'll often test it to a test screening and it'll score really well because it'll be music that people already know. And there's this thing called temp love where you have to try and remove the temp. So what I'm going to do is going to have a listen to these themes, because there's been 3 series and there's 3 different themes, which is interesting. Tell you what I think of them, and then maybe have a go at showing you how to approach doing something on no budget when something's got temp love. I'm going to have a go at listening here. Robbie, can you imagine if I think it's really shit? Love it. I absolutely love it. I haven't heard that before. So basically what it is it's making a voice sound like a ocarina. It's like a menu of vocal samples that have been made and then cut together. And then I think at the end, it's someone blowing through a bottle whilst singing. So that's really interesting. Let me listen to the season 2 version. God, it's completely different. Again, sampled. It's really primitive sampling. In fact, on the first season, the samples were kind of clipped awkwardly and there was a bit of DC offset in there. What's happened, and what is impossible to replicate with the human voice, is when you speed a sample up, the vibrato speeds up in a way that it is quite unnatural sounding, and that's what's giving it this, is it an ocarina, is it a voice? I mean, the singing it sounds like some kind of experimental vocalist, but who is classically trained, because there's that vibrato there. And I'm just thinking about, with the tools that I've got, how I would make something that has that kind of, that vibrato that I could then speed up. Also, possibly it sounds like a bit of that's been sampled, but then again, when you speed it up, it's like has a kind of an unnatural sound to it that I think is immediately engaging. In this day and age, to just hear something you haven't heard before is so rare. So I thank the team for that. Then there's season 3. Yeah, that's really interesting. It's massive sounding. They're also different. That one, it's still a voice, and again, it's sampled again. And with this giveaway is when you hear the sample being slowed down, because the vibrato gets more pronounced, so it gets more pitchy and slower, again in a way that is unnatural. You could imitate with the voice, but there's something brilliantly organic about it. Now that voice, I may be completely wrong here, but it sounds like someone is playing and singing through a melodica at the same time. I don't know if that's possible. I guess it is possible. We have a melodica here somewhere. You know what a melodica is? Be interested to see if you can sing and play through it at the same time, because that's what it sounds like to me. Either that or no, it's not. It's not processing. It's just that kind of idea of workflow that if it was processing, the processing wouldn't sound sampled unless they processed it and then resampled it, which I don't think this person did, because I just don't feel that that's their style. Okay, so maybe Christabel in a fantasy world has been asked to do the next Star Wars or the new Harry Potter series, and someone has come in and asked me to do a new theme tune based on the stuff that I've heard with those. So my trick with temp is to only listen once. I think that the minute you listen again, you start copying. Because I've heard 3 completely different pieces of music, and I have to say I think series 1 is the most, well, it's just the one that I kind of relate to the most. It's got this kind of skank piano, great percussion loop. I might just listen to the beginning one more time to remind me of the vocal stuff. And then I think what I'm probably going to do is I'm going to pull up a vocal library. I'm going to pull up dulcet voice, but I'm going to resample it because what we've done with that sample library is we've got Dot to sing every note, so you won't get that weird effect of the speeding up and slowing down. But also, no offence to Christabel, they've also been chopped correctly, so you don't get that very instant attack, which gives it that kind of ocarina sound. So what I'm going to do is just have a quick peek. You hear that? Basically, the waveform has been cut off when it's not zero crossing, so it gives it almost sounds like a plosive pop. I'm going to start with just finding some stuff that I think of Dot's. Dot doesn't really sing with vibrato, but I'll start with that. The danger with temp is that it gets what's called passed over. I think it's called passed over. If something could be mistaken for something else, or someone can prove that if that piece that they wrote didn't exist, your piece wouldn't exist. It's as easy as that these days. Then you can get into trouble. And the thing that happens when you're a head of department is that you are liable legally. It's you who has to pay the whatever penalties. There's nothing worse than basically agreeing some form of fee after something has been used and transmitted, because basically they do have the right, if they can prove that they own it and they haven't been paid and haven't been asked permission, they do have the right to actually get the TV company to withdraw everything and like redub it with new stuff. And I know of a story recently of someone doing something that was very close to a composer who writes very, very simple music and being pushed and pushed and pushed closer and closer to the temp. And the composer that it was temped with charges a premium for his stuff to be used on TV and film. So what the composer has ended up paying is what the synchronization license would have been, which is usually way, way, way more, which is why they pay for commission music, I'm afraid to say. It's not just about getting stuff that's bespoke. You know, if you're going to use, a piece of Arvo Pärt as your theme tune, you're going to have to Arvo Pärt with, excuse the pun, $100,000 or something like that. Whereas as a composer, you might get $3,000. So this is one of the dangers of temp music. The thing immediately that I will try and do is get myself away from the key in my head. But let's have a listen to some of Dot stuff and see if I can... I'm going to lay a bunch of stuff into Logic and then just... And then I'm just going to chop it up. I'm not going to give myself too much to work with, otherwise it'll go on forever. That's a good one. I'm going to make that into audio, just bounce that in place, and then I'm just going to chop that into little chunks and then whack that into the sampler. I think this has been done on the Mac sampler that I just need to just record that again. Bounce in place. It may feel like procrastinating doing this kind of stuff, but I'm actually having a think about what was the composer doing? What made those tracks electric? And what I particularly like about the first track is it's hypnotic. So it's... I'm hoping I'm already starting to remember it wrong. That's a good thing. Just do a little auto chop with split silence. See, that's already starting to sound like it. That's what I'm talking about. The b. I can't do that. I can't have those kind of clicks and bumps in. So I'm going to do a little tiny fade in. But it'll still sound quite abrupt sounding. So I think that's going to be useful as just as a kind of paddy thing. Okay, let's get this in. I'm just going to work out what kind of range I want, because what I'd quite like to do is have a single keyboard where I can go between these different dubries. So we should be able to just dump these straight in, I believe. So let's just do a little test of how low we want it to go and how high we want it to go. What I'm thinking of doing is stretching each of these over an octave in either direction. Down and up. It ceases being kind of organic the more further up you go. So I'm just going to distribute. And the next one. What's nice is when they're not properly chromatically, it makes you play stuff that you would never play. B to B, A to A, and then what I'll do is I'll tune them so it's playable. G, G, F to F, E to E. Let's stick this way up here, and all the way down, and then E, A, key, A. So what I'm going to do now is just tune these into the correct position. Let's just get a software instrument, electric piano. Let's see what madness comes from this. Oh, I'm doing that. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to lay down a beat. I'm just going to see what inspiration I can get from a mixture of our new Snakes of Russia thing. So that's Snakes. Let's get some kind of 16 part up with concussion. Let's get tempo I'm happy with. Okay. I just fuck around until it doesn't sound shit. I'm just going to flatter this with just a little bit of reverb so that when we sit on top of the drums, we get a little bit of love there, just so it kind of melts in a bit. I could stay here all day trying to find something that is the best thing I've ever heard, ever. But if you feel it's a hook, yeah, I like it. Pan them, make it feel like it's kind of two separate ensembles. Put an obscene amount of effect on this. Not even in the right key, but it don't matter because we're making weird lotusy music. I think that's like a nice mnemonic. More feedback there. Okay, so interesting reverb, but it sounds to me just a little bit like an effect. I want something that sounds just very big. I've got an effect in mind to stick over that as well. Let's put some music underneath it. Let's get the old piano. You can take the man out of his Poirot gig, but you can't take the Poirot gig out of the man. Right, let's make this sound mucky. Up an octave, I think. I've got a bass line in my head. Oh, it's so rare that things come into my head. I just have to play them. Second time around was better. Just make it a bit lazy behind the beat. Oh, simplest way is always the best. Let me just try the old Snakes basses. Oh, the pressure you put me under, Robbie. Okay, let's go, Cosmos. Okay, so what I'm going to do, just get the old house compression in. Compressor stereo, and then I'm going to send the bass as well as to the speakers and to tape. I'm going to send it and just need to make sure that's not coming out of anywhere. Aux 2, bus 2, so no output. So that's sending maximum. And then sidechain bus 2. And then this should not enjoy itself. So after the compression sidechain, I'm going to put a reverb on it to make it sound musical. Very large cathedral. There's quite a lot of sub on that. Just take that off for bass efficiency. Copy that track and then do, I think, up. Let's try up 2 octaves to give it like a, almost like organ sound, like quality. Now what I'm going to do is just do a quick labelage so I know what I'm doing. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is go from composer mode to arranger mode. So I'm not going to think about all sorts of producery stuff. I'm just going to think about more the kind of storytelling. So to give it some kind of arc. And then I'll switch into producer mode, and then I'll switch into engineer mode. Let's do some colouring just for memory aiding. Snake kit, bass. Pipes, can I stays green, sticks, all of that stuff, pad, and just mute everything. Bit of delay, and this is arranger mode. Okay, I'm going to filter the tone out of that, even though it inspired the key of the piece. Bit of reverb of some sort. That'll be the end of the piece. Just take these loops off. That'll be our little mnemonic at the end. Have a nice big breakdown there, and then bring the band in. Mute, scankus, pianus, dubus, bassus, and then I think we'll just do the pad on that one. So, need an in out here, and I probably need a nice, timpani. Okay, so just a bit of an engineering work now. I'm just going to get every possible bit of breath out of these vocals as possible. So I'm just going to really go silly. Okay, more out of this. Okay, what I'm going to do on this is I'm going to make it go super wide. So how many part harmony do I have? 5 part, which is fun. 4, 5. So I'm going to go all the way, half the way, center, half the way, all the way. Let's copy that down 5 times. Hard pan vocals that much, maybe take these even more. To hard pan them, it'll be like wrongly wide. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that's a mistake. Okay, so we'll just keep. Look at that. Funny noise. Take these bottom ones out. I've not been very scientific about this, but this should sound super wide. Probably rinsing now, probably because I'm getting bored. I'm just going to see if there's one more little drum thing I can do. Super. Just want the very, very top of that. Let's get some seriously complicated delay on that. quantization. I think we're nearly there. I was just going to try one more thing. Put the reverb after that, and I think we've got ourselves a... Interesting. There we go. We've been sitting in a shed with a hornet floating around. I thought it was just a fly.
I can hear it behind me. Yeah.
It's the size of a... Oh, it's just gone! Oh, man. I really, really enjoyed that. I want to do more of these, Robbie. So thanks for introducing me to that. As I said, you just completely never heard this stuff before. Haven't watched White Lotus. I've heard it's very good. Let me know if there's anything you'd like to hand on my plate as a piece of temp love and say, how would you deal with that, Henson? I think what I'll probably do now is go back and listen to the original and see, I'm sure, homage, but I think from a publishing music point of view, I think I'm probably safe on this one. And that's how I'd approach it. Only listen to it once, get the vibe, and whilst you're pulling up the sounds, think about what was it about that made that kind of work. It's a bit of a story, it builds and, different elements come in. Engaging, what is that? Is it a voice? Is it an ocarina? Is it a melodica? And then that odd, interesting mixture of the ravey stuff, the skank piano, the interesting percussion. And I think you're probably noticing that I've mushed all 3 seasons into this kind of season 4. So I've taken little ideas of ravey sounding pad that's sidechained. I did quite drop to the 4 to the floor because I can't stand 4 to the floor. And what would I do next? Well, that for me is first pass for me. I would go to sleep, as in at night, come back to it in the morning, and I think that there'd be loads of stuff that would be really obvious to me. It's a very unrefined sounding mix. It's quite edgy and fun in that respect. And indeed, probably those kind of edgier mixes tend to work quite well when you're pitching for stuff, because it's just loud and kind of brutal sounding. But as I would pass through the production process, I would finesse it, pick out all certain different points, possibly get a singer in to sample, and as I say, just finesse and refine the process into what I think is a beautifully, on all three occasions, beautifully mixed titles that have that right element of brashness, not because of overloading buses like kind of I am, but more brashness in the sense of boldness, really big statements within the mix of the music, everything having its place, everything having its moment, and also some really fine engineering going on there as well. So that's how I would refine the process. But I think in the first instance, slapping something down, being, just going with the flow, will come out of the speakers to the person that you're pitching at, along with a degree of aggressive abandon, as opposed to really polishing stuff too much and possibly leaving your faders off the red, which you never want to do. So as I said before, use the comments section to suggest anything else you'd like me to have a look at, and you can temp something for me to relieve you of the temp love. Do subscribe if you haven't done already. Lots of exciting stuff coming up. Dulcet Voice is something that we made along with Venom, the Snakes of Russia thing, and that piano, all linked in the video description down below. One of those, much appreciated, and congratulations to just wonderful theme. Like, really enjoyed listening to that. Amazing. See you soon.